Is it ready yet?
It's your girl, Trail Delord, Nasia B, and we're your hosts of Southern Tea Podcast.
All right, Teasters, we are back again, and we have the infamous, I want to call her my friend. I think we are friends. We're going to be co-workers and associates, and I'm really, really excited. Let's welcome our guest, Miss Terry Sherman.
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. I see we're going to be fast friends. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so let me give you Teasters some back history about how me and Miss Terry met. So, as I mentioned before, she's been a real blessing to me. We actually went on her show earlier January,
Okay.
and I told her, I was like, Henny, you just don't know, you've been a really big blessing to me in so many ways. And so because of Henny, she hosted a Black Podcasting Networking event, and Miss Terry was there, and she introduced herself, and she said that she was a business broker. Mm-hmm. And these sparks just alighted in me.
Which I still can't believe happened, but I'm just so excited about it.
Because I got my real estate license July of last year, mm-hmm. and I was just sitting on them. And in the real estate class, there's a very small 30-second session about business broker.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you remembered that, because honestly, I don't even remember that in my class.
It's a very, literally, I don't remember what page it's on, but it's the very top paragraph, and it talks about a small section of business broker, and everything else is about real estate. Right. So when you said business broker, it alighted me. Mind you, I have no interest in selling homes. Mm-hmm. That does not fascinate me. Mm-hmm. So that's why I went back to the medical field.
That's right. And see, when you were saying that, I heard myself, because that was me. I'm like, I have not a single interest in selling a house.
Yeah.
So I get it.
So I introduced myself to Miss Terry.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And we exchanged numbers, and I called her. We met up, and just Thursday and Friday, I completed my business
Which
broker.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yes, I completed orientation, so I am a member of the Business Brokers of Florida.
Yes, you are. You are the newest business intermediary. I am thrilled to have you.
Yes.
And you were serious, too. People come and they'll say, oh, I want more information. And they get ghost.
Right.
Actually, the first conversation where I'm like, well, you should know it's commission only. All right. Crickets.
Right.
You were more drawn, it seemed like, as the conversation
and that's what's surprising to me, because I'm not a salesman. Mm-hmm. I don't consider myself a salesman. Like, if I offer you something, you be like, no, I'm not interested.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm going to walk away. Like, I'm not going to keep persuading you. Right. So that part of it doesn't intimidate me.
It's beautiful.
And
I've been telling everyone, I'm like, listen, every conversation I have with her, she's like that much more hungry. Like, how is that possible?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
It was for you. The fact that you even saw a little paragraph in your book tells you something, right? Because everybody else probably flipped past it. Mm-hmm. And here you are like, I remember that.
Yes. So I'm super excited about this new career. I'm super excited about just everything. And with that being said, I live by this motto that if you want things in your life, you have to speak it into existence.
It's true.
And the end of 2020, I want to say probably around October, I just started speaking things into my life. I was just like, financially, I'm going to be okay. Like, finances is going to work out. Just me overall, just being a better person, learning myself. I already know things I'm willing to tolerate and not willing to tolerate, but just in different aspects of my life and just in general. So I'm growing, and when I tell you, like, January 1st, 2020, like, my life just has been going uphill on so many levels. So I'm super excited about everything that's going on. Just everything.
You should be. And kudos to you for it. You know, because I'm similarly to you. My thing is like never wanting to be the person that's not willing to learn and grow. Mm-hmm. You know, because like my mom will always say growing up, like the day you stop being teachable, like you might as well hang it up. Mm-hmm. And so I've carried that. And, you know, I'm 34.
Really?
That's it.
So we're only 1 year apart. I'm 33.
Yeah.
What the heck?
That's right. I've been catching you like yesterday. I'm like, I'm gonna get with her about this man, but I'm gonna let her ride till I get with her in person again. Like, no, we're here. So for me, you know, you think you know yourself, and I tell you, I had one of the roughest years of my life last year.
Really?
Oh, girl, like it was nothing nice, but you come on the other side of it and you're like, and here I thought I knew myself this whole time. So we're still learning, still evolving, still growing. But it's like if you're willing to submit to that,
Exactly.
great things happen.
Definitely. And life really is about change.
Oh my
if
gosh,
you
it
want
is.
to be consistent, then you'll never grow.
That's right.
And if you're not willing to grow, you're not willing to learn, you're not willing to expand. So you basically just a lump on a log.
That's it. You're just set in your ways and you're fine with it.
And some people, realize it or not, are comfortable with that.
They are. Well, you know, I think because so thinking about it was ugly. Like it was ugly. And so when you think about who really wants to deal with unpacking baggage, feeling your emotions, like I'm the greatest like deflector there is. Like
Yeah.
I will deflect. I'm busy. I'm fine, girl. Inside crumbling, right? And so when you feel all of that, it's like who really does want to face this? But we have to,
Right.
So I think sometimes it's like change is work and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So for most people, they're not willing to go through that.
Right.
So I agree with you because I'm like, really, who would want to? But you gotta.
You have to. You definitely have to.
You
But
gotta.
the ugly comes with the good.
It does.
It's
Listen.
not always sunny outside.
Ooh, at all. At all. But
And
it's
you
so
have-
sunny today.
Yes,
Look.
you have to embrace that.
It is so sunny today. Yes, I love it.
Yes. So, previously, as I stated in our shows, we want to dedicate time to addressing our Black history. Black history
Okay.
for us should not be just February. We're in the month of March.
Mhm.
Gosh, I know. So let's go ahead and give some tribute, and we would like to dedicate this. This says 53rd card, Black History flashcards.
Go figure that will be the card that I pull. That sounds about right. Let's pull again. See? Tis right. I don't even pull the history card. Come on. Oh, my fave.
Ooh, all right. Well, let's tell.
Yes.
Would you like to go ahead and tell us about your fave?
So this is Mr. Bob Marley.
Cool.
Born, I didn't know he was February 6, 1945 to May 11th, 1981. So do I read the bullet? Is that-
Sure.
All right. Jamaican singer, songwriter, musician, guitarist, and activist. Music became closely associated with the movement toward Black political independence, prominent in America and several African and South American countries. He was the first global pop star to emerge from a developing nation, posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 94. And although I never knew this, although Marley never received a Grammy nomination, can we just pause? Why did I never know that?
So he's never received a Grammy?
Not even a nomination.
Wow.
And now you think about like global impact.
Right.
Like I love my Bob Marley shirt. It's like I've been wearing Bob Marley shirts for what? Forever. So although he was never Grammy nominated, he was recognized with the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2001. That's interesting. So I learned something today for sure.
So that's the whole
Wow.
objective. When our listeners listen to our show, I want them to come away with some type of information.
I love that.
Feeling empowered, encouraged. So everything that I want to bring is just about uplifting us as women,
Okay.
as Black women,
Right.
as Black business owners.
I love it.
Supporting Black business. Like, we have to be pro-Black. That don't mean that we don't like white people. We know
Correct.
we cool. Y'all, we here. But we have to support our people.
Yeah.
And that means acknowledging them, embracing them, and supporting them.
I love it. Okay.
So, being that you are a Jacksonville native, I would
Mm-hmm.
take it. I think you went to Rains High School.
I did not.
You did.
So we were talking about Reigns. You went to Reigns.
I did.
So my father went to Reigns.
Okay.
Like he is still at every party. What class is he? 70?
Oh wow.
52, 62. That would be right. I think he's class of 70. And I'm like, you all party?
And y'all still partying?
Like, they are still partying. Like it's a big thing. I'm like, all right, but whatever. But no, I actually went to school in Orange Park.
Okay.
So the short version, both my parents were teachers.
Okay.
My mom in Duval, my dad in Clay. So my mom and I lived, well, we all lived in Jacksonville. My parents are divorced,
Okay.
but we all were in Jacksonville. And like, I think it was the middle of 7th grade, I went and swapped to Clay County. So that's how I got there.
Gotcha.
So I went to Ridgeview, go Panthers.
I'm actually considering sending my son to school out in Orange Park.
Really?
Because I like the curriculum and the education out here. But there is racism that my son experienced. There's more diversity.
Sure.
So you won't have as much as the racism. And if you do, I'm pretty sure it'll be addressed because it's not acceptable. So I think that's the difference. And actually, me and my husband just had a meeting with my son's school on Wednesday.
Okay.
And we was there for about 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Having this conversation.
So I don't have any children, but again, I was probably at every teacher planning day with my mom, you know, growing up. And so growing up and listening to the conversations and being kind of the fly on the wall with different teachers, settings, all my life. The biggest thing is, especially for us, is to be present. So hats off to you all for being present and visible, because that's the biggest mistake that people can make is they never see you as the parent. Then they feel like they can do and say whatever because there's no one here to defend the child anyway.
No
or you don't care. There's no advocate. Exactly. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, there's been all kinds of studies done about black boys, right? And how they start tracking them for the prison system. What is it, 3rd grade or 4th grade? I think it's 4th grade.
Wow.
So when you think about it, like the whole referral process, all these things pretty much mimic the judicial system and that
pretty
side
much.
Of things.
My son has been there 2 years, 6th and 7th grade. He's already got 3 referrals.
Right. And so you should have a problem with that. You know, now then there's the other side of that where you also have to be honest with you and your child and address the real issues that exist. But on the other side, that's very real. So, you know, he's how old?
13.
Pivotal age. Obviously, it starts, 3rd grade up, right? But these are the times where his ambition can get stamped out, his personal belief system can get stamped out, all of those things. So, you know, you do what you have to do for your child because the school system, I'm totally here for it, but you have to really, you know, there's outliers in any and everything. I say that for life. There's going to be bad, and there's going to be good, and there's going to be this far extreme, right? So, again, both my parents taught in the public school system, and I will always hear my mom say, you know, yeah, private school is great if that's what you want to do, but there's great teachers in the public school system, too. You just got to kind of find them and, again, be present and accountable. But no, hats off to you, because especially now, like, I can't imagine having any child and trying to raise and rear them in this system, but especially like
it's hard.
Sure.
And as I stated in that meeting, I was like, you know, at 11 years old, I would have never thought about having a racial conversation with my child about how you should be treated and how you should not allow people to treat you.
Right.
And I'm thinking about when I was 11. Like, I was in the 6th grade. Now, I can't, me being 11, I didn't have, my mother passed away when I was 10. Okay. My daddy was out working.
Okay.
So I raised myself, but I had guidance from above, and I think I just had some common sense that I knew better in certain things.
And that will take you a long way.
And so, but even outside of that, like, I never experienced what my son has experienced just now, and I'm 33, and I get the look, but I've never
Nothing
had
that overt,
right? But I've never had no one directly. Just I'm like,
me either, never.
So I was like, you know, this is going to impact him for the rest of his life.
It will. The beauty of this though is that it obviously I can tell he's in a very structured home, and he has both parents, and I think even that to have both parents present and unified on his behalf, that's going to impact him a long way too.
Right.
And my mom and my dad stood up for me.
Right. And I told him that from the very beginning. I was like, I'm going to always have your back. I'm going to ride for you till the wheels fall off. The only thing is, don't have me in there looking.
This is my mom. This is my mom talking. I will never forget that. You sound just like my mom. That's what she said. If you did it, you better tell me. Do not have me go out on a limb for you. And I don't know you didn't tell the truth. And I lived it. Do you hear me? Because I was terrified. Like, all right. So you're right. That was the right thing to tell him.
Definitely, because what we not gonna do,
No.
you're not gonna have me in these people's office.
Correct. Cutting up.
Looking the fool. They were like, well, Miss Holmes, are you aware?
Right.
Excuse what?
Tell the whole story. Tell the whole. And I'd rather hear it from you than somebody else.
Exactly. But it's a growing process, and as I told Dorian, there's no book or manual on how to be a parent. You were my first. We were learning together.
That's right.
Like, he's going through puberty right now, and it's so funny. He came in here the other day after the show. He was like, Mama, feel. So he was telling me to feel his chest because he had a little knot on his nipple, but it wasn't one on the other side.
Yeah.
And I was like, son, it's just puberty.
Right.
But then he was like, you sure? And so I'm feeling, and because I'm from the medical field, so now the medical side, so I'm feeling and I'm touching and I'm moving. He's like, ouch, hold up, feel right, but I'm not. I don't want to let him.
Right.
So, of course, I go on Google, and of course, that's the first place that everybody
Of
go, which
course.
is not
Then you
recommended.
think you're gonna die.
But
Yeah.
you need some type of reference guide. So I'm Googling, and of course, I find an article, Kids Health or something like that, and it's talking about puberty in boys, and that's normal. And it could be in one and not the other, or both, but your body goes through many changes, and so I was like, whew, thank you, Lord.
Right.
Okay, Dorian, come read this article.
Okay. I can't imagine. I really can't. I look at my friends that are parents, and I'm just like, oof. Go, y'all.
Yes. I'm like,
Go,
whew.
y'all.
So it's normal.
Yes.
It's okay.
It's okay.
We're going through this together.
I'm
This is my
telling
first
you, you're
puberty
first.
stage.
I know. You're first together. And you're like, and even that, I'm a girl. I was not a boy, so I can't even really relate, but we're going to get through
So
it.
I told my husband, I was like, okay, so by the time the other two get in their puberty stages,
We're
I've
good.
experienced it. He was like, well, not really, because Shadell a girl. I was like, oh, Lord. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a whole nother. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
so being a parent, it's hard, but I wouldn't change it.
I love it.
All of my children, they all have different personalities, and it's so weird. It's like, y'all came from the same people, but y'all so different. But then you so alike in the same way. It's like, sir, he is going to be almost a spit image of me.
You think
Which
so?
I'm
You see it
scared.
already. You see it already. You'll get it all back.
Oh my God, like, he came out mean mugging.
No.
And if I'm not thinking about something positive, or I'm just thinking, like, I have a real bitch face syndrome.
I do too. Bad.
And so I have to, and people be like, oh, she got attitude. Or
Always.
she look like
My
she
whole
mean.
life.
But once they get to know me, they be like, oh, you're real cool. And so he has it. He came out with it.
But I got it honest, because both my parents have it. You got it.
Yeah.
Someone told me recently, and this thing like punched me in my gut. They were like, "You laugh a lot, but you don't smile a lot," and that was like the whole world shifted. I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that, because I do. I've been told I look pretty intimidating. I'm like, but I'm not. It's not you.
Right.
Half the time I don't even see you.
Right.
Like, I really am looking through you because I'm somewhere else mentally. But the RBF is real.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It is what it is. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. That's all I can
right.
say. I'm a
But
work in
sometimes
progress.
I think it works in our favor, especially as women.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
whatever. You know, that's how I feel about it. I'm like, I mean, again, if you approach me properly,
Right.
and that's for anybody,
Definitely.
then it wouldn't be a bother to you.
Definitely. So getting back to this business broker world.
Yes.
So you've been doing this for about 8 years?
Yeah, I can't believe it. Like, it'll be, June will make 9 years. And again, for something that I fell into, it's been great. You know, it's a challenge. I always say
Right.
that. Like, there's two parts to that, and it's a challenge, but it's been good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you said you stumbled into it. So how did that happen?
Ooh, okay. So I just told this story. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. I was at a lunch with the lender actually, and they asked that, well, how'd you get into this? Well, so my background is in the music business. I don't know if we had that conversation.
We did, and that's what I'm really, because I was like, how did she? Okay, so she was in the music industry.
Yeah.
What was she doing, and how did that
Ooh.
work, and how did she get out of that to get into this? 'Cause
Oh,
these
so
are like
it's-
two different entities.
See, we might need a drink. That's how I always preface this. I'm like, yes, like we get a drink conversation. So I'm gonna
go hook
try.
up the drink of the day real quick.
What
guys.
is the drink of the day? Right?
So the drink of the day is called black tea.
Okay, black tea.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is a mixture of black Hennessy.
Oh,
Yes. And some lemonade.
okay.
And some
Oh,
bold.
like tea.
Yeah. And the bold ginger ale.
Oh, I like that. That sounds delicious.
It
Did
is
you
really
concoct that?
I did.
I'm impressed.
So, disclaimer, I'm not a bartender yet.
Uh-huh.
I want to become one, but I ain't gonna say I like to drink, but I like to drink.
Right.
And I like to mix concoctions.
Clearly.
So that's what I do is I'll go buy a bottle, go buy some chasers
Okay.
and a soda,
And
and just
play.
start mixing stuff. And
That
thus
actually
far,
sounds delicious.
it has turned out to be really good.
Okay. You should be like tracking these.
I am.
Do you? Okay.
I am.
I'm like,
But my goal, and like I told you, I have like since I like this year, like my business mind, I didn't know that I was as business minded as I am. And I told my husband, I was thinking about my first business idea. I told him when we started talking back in 2012.
okay.
So that is my first vision.
Okay.
I don't want to say the name of it because I want nobody to steal
Sure.
my thing. But I want to do a adult lounge that is catered to women.
Nice.
So you have lounges that are catered to men.
Correct.
I want to have a lounge that is catered to women.
I dig it.
So that was my first business idea, and then like I said, just this year, just my mind just been going. It's like I think about something. Like I have a whole other podcast that I want to.
I love it. I'm a firm believer. I have a book, and I write down all my ideas when they come. My brain hasn't been working as well the last few years. I'm like, I just don't feel inspired. Like I used to have ideas all the time, but I feel like it's slowly coming back.
kind of slowly
But
coming back.
For years, I would just you never know what's gonna come back
Right.
full circle.
Right, and so I just been writing them down, but I do want to get my bartender license.
Nice.
And actually bring these concoctions to events, like real
can see
events. So
That's like a new thing too. This whole mobile bartending for events and stuff.
I think everything should be mobile nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
my our co-host Shanasia, she has she does eyelashes, individual lashes. And I was like, why won't you do like mobile lashes?
Right.
Like instead of people coming to
Having
you,
it
you
come
come to
to
them.
you. That's true. And
like
people
that's
want the
right.
convenience.
That's the convenience. Like you have kids at the house, you can't get out, you can't find a babysitter. Boom, you can come to my house and do girl, come on over here.
Right.
So, but again, that's just how my mind thinks. I'm always thinking out.
That's wonderful.
I'm learning to think outside of the box, and thus far, it has been working. That's how this podcast came about.
right.
That's how this business broke.
That's how you're going to be a wonderful intermediary. I see
Even
it.
with that, like I'm already thinking about marketing
That's right.
and how I want this to be, and just like it's really crazy. Like the fact that like I'm so intrigued by it. Like I don't think I've ever been intrigued by nothing like this. Really, that's why it's
deep.
really fascinating to me that I'm so motivated and inspired.
That's wonderful though.
So that's why I'm like, usually stuff like this scares me.
Okay.
Like when I was doing the real estate class, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. Like
Okay.
this sounds very intimidating,
this
but
you're
this
like,
does not
you done
sound
jumped in the pool.
It does.
You done already swam
It
to
don't
the other
feel
end.
intimidating at all. So I think that's why I'm like, I'm just ready.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so let's get back to this.
Oh, we
music
were
industry.
okay. See, I'm like way past that. Okay, so I fell into music also. So I've said this to people, and nobody really believes me, but I really mean this. I think everything that I've done through college that was related to any kind of entrepreneurial whatever, because I didn't know that I had that.
Mm-hmm.
I fell into except one project.
Okay.
And the one project is an artist from Jacksonville named Swords, and he's the only artist that I was like, no, I want to work with him.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. Everybody else, it just fell in my lap.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know how. It's just kind of been my life. Now, today, you look back and you think, okay, well, was that the right thing to do? I mean, obviously it landed me here.
Right.
And I feel like although my life was, I feel all over the place, I picked up a lot and learned a lot. But on the flip side now, trying to be more conscientious and more, particular about what I align myself with and the projects that I commit to. You look back and you say, well, maybe that was really because people saw whatever value in you and you didn't know your own worth or your own value or your own boundaries.
Right.
And so you just saying yes to everything. I've learned through this last year, I set very weak boundaries. That's been a very big thing for me in the last year, is like learning how to set healthy boundaries. And quite frankly, and everything within reason. So I'm not saying to be like, no, just for no reason. But if it comes to, we're talking about protecting your peace, right? Setting healthy boundaries and being okay saying no. And not having to apologize for it. not having to explain it. It's just simply
Preach,
no.
girl.
But again, I'm 34, just learning that, oh, you should have been doing this, right? But it is what it is.
Right.
So going back, there's like a two-sided conversation going, right? Going back to music, I was in college. I went to 4 schools. I tell everybody that the drinks are coming at this point. You see that, right? So I went to 4 schools. I played tennis.
Okay.
And so I landed at Albany State in Albany, Georgia. I would say Albany, and they were like, it's Albany. So,
Okay.
All right. So Doherty County, Georgia. Did my year and was like, all right, it's cool. I had a ball. Let me be very clear.
Okay.
I feel like the college experience that most people talk about, all the 4 years, I crammed into one.
Oh, wow.
Like, I had a ball. Like, the most fun probably ever.
Okay.
My freshman year of college. Like, great time. But it was a very small town. I'd never seen a cotton field. My mother had never seen a cotton field, and she, at this time, is in her 50s.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. Like, the railroad tracks, all of that was real. Like, it was cool.
Yeah.
I had to go. And then I came home for a year and played tennis at it was FCCJ then, FSCJ
Right.
South Campus. So by that time, I'm injured, I'm beat up, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to FAMU.
Okay.
So I go to the Hill. I'm there for 2 years, had enough hours to graduate, but they were like, nah, you need 45 more because of my transfers. I'm like, that's a whole year and a half, and I'm already at 100. I think I had 105 hours when they told me that. You only need 120 to graduate. I'm like, yeah, I'm straight.
Right.
I'm going home where it's free, and I'm straight. But in that time is how I got into music. So here I am at Albany State. There were, that I can remember, I think, 3 of us from Jacksonville. Everybody else was pretty much from Georgia. Like, I think 40% was from Atlanta alone.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were like super outnumbered.
Right.
And so we all stuck out. And nobody really looked like me. There were 3 of us around campus, high yellow, whatever. So we really stood out. So girl, I got there and I'm like, straight unit. I'm miserable the first day. I'm like, I'm gonna hate it here. In orientation, I was just not having it. So they're walking us all around, the campus to show us where everything is. And this guy walks up and he's like, oh, you're from, where are you from? And I was like, I'm from Jacksonville. Oh, shoot, my cousin lives in Jacksonville.
You know such and such?
And again, RBF is real at 34. Girl, 18-year-old Terry was a whole problem. Okay? A whole problem. So I'm looking at him like, I don't even want to be bothered. And you keep talking to me about, do I know somebody in Jacksonville is the whole size of like
Right.
3 Albany's. Like, come on. And he just would not leave me alone. So he's like, oh, you got to know my cousin. He throws parties. Now, let's be clear. I was super green. Never been to a club. Like, it was so bad. I've told this story on another podcast. I don't remember, but I feel like my first time going to a club, even in college, was like homecoming week. Because I was still in like that space of, I don't think I'm supposed to be there. Like, with my mom. Like, in my mind, it was, I'm on my own. But, mentally, I was just like, So that goes to show where I was at, right? So he's talking to me about parties, and I'm going, I play tennis, dude. Like, I don't.
Right.
All right. That was the first day I got on campus. This happened the entire semester. His name was Reggie. Reggie kept coming to me, y'all gotta tell my cousin about you. And I'm going, for what? And who's the cousin?
Okay, who is this cousin?
It was weird, right? And so let me add this to it. I'm the only child. And so, not having any siblings, you learn to move through the world and take care of yourself.
Right.
So already I'm like, some man that I don't know. Nah. Anyway, I think we had just gotten Google. I had my first laptop, and I'm Googling. And I put the guy's name in, and it came up. So I saw that it was legitimate. I just didn't know what I was looking at still. So I'm like, okay, well, at least it's somebody.
So his cousin was somebody.
He's somebody. It's, doesn't matter to me, but
Right.
he's here. All right, there's a real address. So I think it was like Christmas break. I came home, and my childhood best friend was a guy.
Okay.
A big guy. So I'm like, yo, come with me. I'm going to meet this man and one of my girlfriends at the time. And we go to Cartouche.
Yes, I remember Cartouche.
Now, disclaimer, I was not inside of Cartouche. I was in the parking lot. It was the parking lot. I never went in. looked super out of place, I'm sure. I don't know what night it was. It was a weekend, though. And
I think
that's
Cartouche
how...
was popping on Saturday.
Oh, girl, I don't know, because I was already petrified to go.
I think I went there like twice.
It had the stigma by now.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like, you gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm
in the club in Duval.
So I like pull up and we're like, we're gonna get out. Y'all here, say hello, nice to meet you. I'm out. And that's how the whole thing started. So this cousin, his name was Derek Washington.
Okay.
Derek actually passed, was it 2 years ago now? Very unexpectedly. But Derek ran what was called a record pool.
Okay.
So at that time, you got to think it seems so far-fetched now, but we remember at our age when there was no digital music streaming.
Right.
So the same thing for a DJ. So for a DJ to get his music or her music, they had to physically go get vinyl.
Right.
So the labels would send the vinyl to whoever was like the market rep, if you will. In this case, Derek. And so Derek had this pool of DJs. So you would sign up to be a member of, it was Upstart Record Pool.
Okay.
And they would meet like once a month at the storage unit and they would get their records. And, you know, for a DJ, it's like you want to be the first to play something. Like that's the whole thing. So that's what it was. I knew nothing about music, the business, none of that. And so with the monthly record pool to get your music serviced, there was a quarterly event.
Okay.
And the quarterly event would be like artist performances. If a label had a priority artist, they would send them down. And that's what I began to do. So he looks at me and he's like, I'm going to make you public relations director. I didn't even know what public relations meant. Okay.
So he met you and just gave you a title.
Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I could tell you so many stories like this that I'm going, I don't know why, but that's how it went. He's like, you're cute, is what he said. You're cute. You're going to be this. All right. So he hands me like a piece of paper, and it's basically, it was called a press release then that somebody else had written. It was like, use this for your template. And I was like, okay. But the one thing that worked in my favor, I was always really good at research.
Okay.
So I knew from a kid, like I loved, you know, projects and things like that. I knew how to research. So that's what I would do. I would just look at other things or look at what somebody else did and kind of follow by emulating it.
Right.
And so, yeah. So I was basically the girl at the door at 18, 19 who, when the people would come to the quarterly event, I would check them in for registration. So my face kind of became associated with this.
The brand.
Exactly. So then all of a sudden it's like Derek and that girl Terry. We don't really know what she does, but she's there.
Right.
And that's how the whole thing started. And from there, it just, I moved to Tallahassee, landed my first client in management, which again, similar situation. There was another record pool in Tallahassee that was bigger than ours called TJ's DJs.
Okay.
And everybody came through TJ's. And so the biggest quarter was always fourth quarter because it was around homecoming time. So we got FAMU homecoming week and TJ's DJs. So everybody came through TJ's. Every artist you can probably name was there. So I'm in this section, you know, standing up, watching performances, and this guy looks at me, I look at him, and we're like, hey! And then we're like, oh, I don't know you. It was the strangest thing. But I swear to you, we looked, and we were like, good to see you! And it was like, I don't think I know you. But it was like after the fact, right?
Wow.
So couldn't find out, fast forward all these years, he's like the only person that I really call my brother. Like, we're still super tight, but it was him, Big Ed. And we met that night, kept in contact, and then like 2 weeks later, I get a call. Now, I'm in Tallahassee, I'm a full-time student. He's like, I want you to come manage this project with me. Again, never worked together. I can't tell you why. And so, silly, naive Terry, okay, all right. What was it? It was artist management. So my first artist was Choppa.
Okay.
Choppa Style, No Limit.
Yeah.
And that was an experience. And again, it's just like, it just began to snowball. So, needless to say, by now I'm in, you know, my fourth year of school. Mentally, I'm only here because my parents are like, you know, you got two black parents, middle-aged.
They come from the education system.
Yeah, it's like, you know, for blacks, professional blacks in my experience, because I had a professor at FAMU whom I still love so dearly, and she reminded me so much of my mother, and I'll never forget, she was like, she would call me Miss Sherman. Miss Sherman, Dr. Dawson, Miss Sherman, you should be thinking about going to get your master's and get your PhD? And I looked at her very frankly and was like, no, I'm good. Like, after I get done with this, I have no interest. And she was so offended. Because for their era, which she's my parents' age,
Right.
if you didn't have an education, you were reduced to some blue-collar maid work like their parents were. My grandmother was a maid. You know what I'm saying? So I understand it.
Right.
But for me, I'm like, I don't want
But
to
you saw the world evolving, and there was way more opportunities than what was presented in that era.
It really is. And then you look where we are today.
Right.
I still am trying to clean up my life financially from student loans.
Girl,
while people that went into learned a trade, they straight.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I get it. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
But I'm completely a proponent for, like, if your child is, college is great for some people. I feel like if you know your child is not ready to jump into the real world.
Right.
If you got a child that you think has some autonomy and can figure it out, some common sense,
Right.
let them go.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I'm in my 4th year. I transferred to UNF. I think I went for like 6 weeks, and I was miserable. Like, I remember I cried going to class one day. I was so miserable. I withdrew from everything and was like, I'm done. I am done. So at that point, music really became like
Top priority.
oh my gosh, I just wanted to do. In hindsight, I think I thought I knew what I wanted to do. Like, I really wanted to work for a label.
Gotcha.
And I'm so glad that never happened, you know, in hindsight.
Right.
But at that time, all I could see was like, I'm going to take this project and they're going to be like the biggest thing. So, yeah, I got deeper into management and ended up falling into some other projects, working with different events, and worked for a marketing company out of Miami. So I say I was fake living. Everybody laughs when I say that. So fake living means you're there, but you're not getting mail.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? All right. So I was fake living in Atlanta and Miami. Back and forth for like 2009, 2010. Like, I was all over the place. And then I got burnt out.
Right. That sounds like it was a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was great, but then it was like, it wasn't. And, again, it's very easy to be taken advantage of when your motives and your intentions are pure.
Right.
And I think I'm a pretty easy read on that. Like, if you come to me and I feel like you got something, I'm going as hard as you are.
Right.
What I had to learn is you can't want it more than the person in charge.
Yep. I have this saying, you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make it.
That's it. And you can't want to say, no, but I really want you to drink, and they don't want to.
Yeah. Because you get burnt out. Like,
Because
I can't want this more than you.
You can't. And that was me. I feel like in so many instances that it was like, for me, I internalized that. And it would frustrate me, and then I'm burnt out. And then I'm just gruntled, because now I'm angry that I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, which I was.
Right.
But again,
time wasted.
I can't really be mad, because at the end of the day, again, looking back, it's like, well, Terry, that was on you. Like, you let that happen. So all these lessons, you know, you learn along the way, but that was the music situation. So fast forward, now we're in like 2010, and I'm thinking my priorities are changing. I was dating, and so, you know, all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe I don't want to be on the road anymore, and I'm burnt out, so it just kind of happened to be together. And before that, let me back up. I had been applying for jobs here in Jacksonville for like a year and a half, 2 years. I think in that time, I may have gotten 2 or 3 callbacks and 1 interview. 1 in-person interview. 1. So, again, of course, everything crashes in 2008.
Oh, yeah, that was around the market
so
crash.
So all this is kind of perpetuating, and it's just like, okay, well, now what do I do? And I tell the story, Dillard's in the Orange Park Mall had a job opening stocking shoes. I was that desperate. I was like, I will stock some shoes gladly. Couldn't get a call back. So I'm desperate, okay?
Maybe they felt like you was like too qualified.
Listen, if I'm telling you to go stock some boxes, let me stock the box for $5. I just want $5. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no money moving nowhere. Come on. So yes, you're right. Maybe so. Who knows? So I'm on LinkedIn, which I really didn't use. I still don't use it like I should, but there was this job opening, and all I remember seeing honestly was that you had to have a real estate license. Now let me back all the way up to that. Only child, I said that. My mother loves real estate. To this day, she can watch the real estate channel. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, I would be asleep. Like, this is so boring.
Does she have her license?
No.
Why
And
not?
Correct. So here's how I get mixed up in this mess, right? I'm a senior year of high school. She's like, listen, I'm going to only ask you to do one more thing, and then I'm going to leave you alone. I want you to go get your real estate license. You will thank me later, were her words.
Okay.
She says, literally could not care less about a house. And she actually had gotten into some investing.
Okay.
I remember being like 12, and she did a house flip. And my mom, like, you know, you look back and you're like, you don't really appreciate your parents until you get older. Like, she was a boss.
Yeah.
She just didn't have, like, the tools to really go, and I think it was in the wrong era, you know, but did a house flip, and then everything kind of fell apart. And, so we had some financial setbacks growing up and things like that I can remember, but she's like, you're smart. You can pass the test. I can't pass the test. And that's exactly what she told me. So me being like, all right, I'll do it. I did it. So I got my license in 2006, I think it was. Hung my license when I was in Tallahassee. Did not bit more sell a house in the middle of the moon. Plan. And, that was it. So I think at some point I put it on voluntarily inactive because I didn't care. Well, here's this job. Her words, you'll thank me later.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. So I sent my resume. Now, mind you, at that time, my whole resume, in air quotes, was all music stuff. So to the real world, you don't have any work experience. Right. You were playing because most people couldn't wrap their head around like
the music industry.
You're working in music and you're making money, or are you trying to like play? So it was hard for me to get a job, probably due to that too. So I send it. I get a call, and you will meet Anthony at the upcoming luncheon. Anthony was at that time the vice president of FBX here in Jacksonville. Okay. We had a much larger office. I think when I joined, we had like 8 or 9 agents here.
Oh, wow.
So Anthony, who's this Irish man, like literally Irish, meets me. We meet at Panera, and I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, this is not going to go well. This is just not going to go well. He's like, oh, no, I think you'd be great. Next thing I know, the next week, I'm at lunch with him and Bert, who was our broker. Bert's our broker. And Bert is really this older man, and I'm thinking, this is not going to go well. I have no experience related to this. Oh, you're going to be great. And here we are. I didn't even know what a business broker was, but I remember, I think I sent my resume, then went to look to see what it was. But there was a single line listing, and it said it was a coin laundry. And so it had coin laundry, the asking price, the gross sales, and the net profit. And that's when it clicked and was like, you can sell a coin laundry? And then you start realizing, like, the whole world opens up.
Right.
Because every business you pass or spend money in, you're thinking, you can sell this.
Yeah.
And that's how we got here.
Wow.
In a long but not so short version.
But hey, everything happened for a reason. The universe aligns itself.
It's true.
In ways that we don't understand. And I don't think we're supposed to at that time.
Things happen. And again, that's why I say, I mean, it's brought me here. And it was very colorful. All my 20s are, some of it's a blur and some of it's like, okay. But you know, I'm thankful for it. Right. And the beauty of it is in the upside. It's very difficult being a woman in the music industry, but I've learned it's very difficult being a woman in any male-dominated industry, which is pretty much 98% of what we walk into.
Right.
So going from that into this, I was like, oh, this is a cakewalk. Like, ain't nobody told me guns. We are good. Like, I could deal with that. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's very different. But I'm thankful for those lessons.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
interesting.
It's very colorful. It is that. So yeah.
Awesome. I had a guy in the orientation yesterday, which I really did not talk to anyone.
Okay, I was pretty much the same.
Like, I don't even think many people really spoke.
So I think I said that to you. I don't know if I didn't. If I didn't tell you that, I should have. I remember the first time I went to a company. We used to have a company in-person meetings. I was telling you once a quarter. I'm not kidding. This guy, we would meet at, like, I think it was DeVry at the time, and they had like auditorium style classroom. So you had to slide behind the tables, right? This guy had his chair stuck out. And I'm standing here, and there are like 3 of them talking. And I said, excuse me. Nobody budges. Now, I'm with the company now.
Right.
I said, excuse me again. Nobody budges. So I go trying to squeeze through. Still nobody budged. Nobody said, excuse me. That was my welcome.
Wow.
And I said, okay. And so you're going to have that. The thing is, see it and don't see it.
Yeah.
Because at some point, and that was my attitude, was like, all right. Just because of that, I'm going to make you have to deal with me.
Right.
And at some point, they have no choice but to get on board.
Right.
Sorry. That's just what it is. So that will happen. I just feel like, so what?
Yeah.
You're going to see me. And your work will speak for itself. For you.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, too, I've had to learn this also, I think, just through life. If you're only looking for negative, it's all you're going to see.
Definitely.
I think I was, 25? Yeah, 25. So at that time, that's really all I kind of saw.
Right. What's the negative?
And so I'm constantly getting it. When you shift and you begin to look for the good, that's all you'll see. I mean, you'll see the other, but you can focus on that. And believe it or not, I've had some of the most unlikely allies in this industry, people that you would never imagine you would even have anything in common with, that really go to bat for you.
Really?
Yeah, so that's just open yourself up to being open to it. If they don't rock with you, that's fine, because I have some that I just don't care for.
Right.
But that's anywhere.
Right.
So, that's the best piece of advice I can say is, like, look for the good and you'll find it. There's always going to be...
You're always just... I call them haters.
They are. They're straight just butts.
Yeah.
There's them everywhere.
Yeah.
One of the first, I was telling you about the awards luncheon. The first one that I ever went to, we used to have it in the evening. And I go, and there's this guy, I won't call his name because he's still around. And he works for one of our competitors. And the first thing out of his mouth is like, well, why do you want to get into this business? You won't make any money. Now, let's be clear. This is 2011 for me. These people were been in business before the recession.
Right.
And y'all got families to tend to. It's just me and a dog. So I'm thinking, like, all right. But that's what he said out of his mouth. You won't make any money, but you're still here 8, 9, 10 years?
Wow.
Come on, dude.
Definitely.
And that's part of it, too. Like, it's such a different industry, and it can be a very lucrative industry. Of course they don't want you to access it, because they feel like it's not enough for everybody, but it's not true.
Right. Because that was one of the things that the president of the BFF said on Thursday. He was like, it's so much business out here that we don't have enough agents.
We can't service.
To
No one can
supply
service
the demand that's there. So with that being said, we know that the work is there.
You see? And that's why I think the classes are getting larger and somewhat younger. Because these guys are older guys.
Right. And they're what they call the baby boomers. So at some point they'll be...
And that's where we are. They're all looking to retire over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. But one of the guys from the orientation, I saw him going into the restroom, and he looked like he wanted to say something, but was going opposite direction.
Okay.
He was going to the restroom, but he caught up with me. He was like, so how did you get here? Like, what made you get into this? And so I just kind of gave my little spiel. I got my license, but I, wasn't doing anything with him. I met Terry, and Bert was standing right there. I was like, actually, I met his broker, and then that kind of just started. And he was like, yeah, because you stayed at the shoes in the medical field. And I was like, yeah, I'm a medical assistant. And he was like, well, what is that kind of like? I was like, well, we basically like room the patients, get them prepared, assist them. He was like, oh, wow, that's a really big job. Why would you walk away from that? Stuff happens.
Right. And I want to change.
Right.
Why are you here?
But I did, like, it seemed like everyone from the class either came from the real estate market, they came from the business. They've all come from some form of the business world, whether they were business owners or they did real estate or the real estate agency they're working with. They kind of dabble with corporations of some sort. So, but I was like the only one that had no Well, I still don't consider having a background in real estate just because I have my license.
Right.
I had no background in real estate. I don't own a business. I would like to be a business owner. Right. So I was just like, okay. So all of these people, they it seems like they got it.
Right.
But as you stated before, when you're dealing with a realtor, it's two different playing fields.
It is.
And
it's hard for them to make that switch.
And that is what I picked up on, because the people that were realtors, they was like, well, what about this? And when we
this
do
is
it,
how we do it. Oh my gosh, I see already. I guarantee you, next year they will be gone.
So
That's so funny you caught that.
It was
already.
making the instructors kind of, I don't want to say irritated, but they were
probably because you want to tell me about my stuff,
right? Well, it was one guy, because he was talking about, we were on the buyer forums,
okay.
And no, we was on the seller forums.
Okay.
And he was saying, you know, I guess if you are a sole proprietor and you want to sell your business, you have to get consent from the wife.
Yes.
To sign.
You
so
do.
he was like, well, what, like, how do I, do I just say, hey, did you get your wife to sign the forms? And like, he kept making it harder than what it was. It's like, you need to have all of these forms before you can even do anything. Like,
period.
Right. So, and in my mind, like, so I was even trying to explain it, because I don't know nothing, but this is just what I'm comprehending.
It's not that hard. So hearing you say this is very illuminating for me. Like, you're gonna be spectacular because you already can discern that. You'll see so much of that. And one thing that you will probably, because Bert tells the same stories over and over, you will probably hear him say at some point, this is not a hard business. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of years, I think even I made it more difficult than it should have been, because it's just so different. Mm-hmm. And then one day it clicked and was like, no, it's not that hard. You said it so succinctly the other week. You were like, it's my job to put a buyer and a seller together. That's it.
Yeah.
So when you have people, it's so funny. You could discern that already. It's hard for realtors to make the switch. And again, be clear. Yes, per licensure, you and I can go sell a house right now. That's not our business.
Right.
Why would I go try to write an agreement that I don't even deal with?
Exactly.
That's not our agreement. That's not my business. You know, we don't sell homes.
Right.
Technically, yes, we can, but that's not our business.
Right.
And it's the same thing on the flip side. Ma'am or sir, you sell homes, or maybe you sell commercial buildings even, but you don't deal with the actual business.
Right.
So just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's the biggest thing. And so sometimes you'll meet realtors and you'll have a little bit of a little, round, because they get really upset that we won't. Like, I know some agents in BBF will not cooperate with a non-BBF member on any level.
Yeah, but in the contract, I mean,
we're not obligated to.
Yeah, we're not obligated to.
And I've had realtors get really sporty with me on the phone, like, well, y'all don't share with us, but like, okay. Now, you'll meet some that you'll learn that will respect the confidentiality, that have a brain and understand. They're cool. You just do a different split. And I have some that I work with if they send a referral or what have you. But for the most part, it's different. Yeah, it's different.
But I did learn, everything that I learned the last 2 days I didn't know. But it's just interesting. I guess when you are breaking down the financial structure of the business itself, and you separate the property itself from the business. And Bert told a story about a business he was working on, or a deal, and he suggested that they sell the property itself. And so it was another guy in the class, I think his name was Keith. I think he said he's been doing it for 15 years, but he stepped away, so he's back now. So he was in the class. And so when it came to the property part, we was on a real mission. I can't even get the word out. What's the part where you take a brief break?
Oh, an intermission?
There you go.
Got you. You had the mission part. I got you.
We was on one of those.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, okay, so when you're dealing with the property aspect and the seller decides he wants to sell the property, do you bring in a realtor to do that? He was like, well, can't you sell real estate? I was like, well, technically, yeah. He was like, well, then now. So I was like, so you can get 2 commissions?
Yeah. Oh, now the world is opening to her. Look at this light bulb. Yes.
I was like, okay.
Yes. Now, there are cases like Herb, which is our VP. People are like, who's the people like calling names on? Herb is our VP. So Herb had a deal, for instance, I think it was last year, where it was the business and the real estate. But in that case, I don't remember how the story went, but there was a commercial realtor involved on that, and they just kind of divvied it up. But in most cases, we take it. So like right now, I think I have 3 or 4 listings that have the real estate attached.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, yes, you know, we do take it on. We just don't go out and say like, I'm going to sell this building.
Right.
But, you know, if it's attached to the business, because when we'll get into all of this, but a lot of times when you're trying to get a bank to pre-qualify it,
Mm-hmm.
they love the real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain like advantages to having the real estate attached to it. Like, for instance, if your total purchase price for the package, meaning the business and the real estate, if the real estate is 51% or more in terms of price,
Mm-hmm.
they can amortize a loan over like 20 years instead of the standard 10. So there's benefits.
Okay.
You know, but yes, in that case, you want that. You do.
Definitely. So, the class was, the orientation was definitely informative. I'm super excited about what the
That's
rest
wonderful.
of 2020
Yes.
holds for
Yes.
this aspect of my life. But we all know that money is the driving factor
Sure.
to basically anything that you do. As we stated, a lot of money can be made
Right.
in this industry. So if you don't mind me asking, like, what was your lowest commission? Well, I take that back before I say that, because this will tell you what I learned in the class from Bert.
Okay.
So he was saying that he doesn't do anything less than 10% or $10,000.
That's correct. That's our minimum.
Right. The minimum is
And that's the
10,000.
minimum for FBX. Don't
Okay.
you ever take,
Anything less than 10%.
No.
Okay.
well, 10,000.
Well,
Because
10,000.
you got to think about
Which
it.
one is higher?
So, right. Because, so I have a barber shop for sale right now.
Okay.
And it's priced $31,000. If I took 10% of that,
Yeah.
you see what I mean?
Right.
So, and you'll learn sometimes the smaller deals seem like more work than the bigger ones. I don't know what it is. So for every minimum, and we'll go over that, you know, if you haven't already, you put in there $10,000, and they just understand whichever is greater.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are gonna bark at that. Most people are not. If they bark at it, okay, I wish you the best.
Right.
Boundaries,
Right.
right? Like early on, I was so like almost desperate. Again, you just take anything, and no, this is because I'm gonna work for this,
Right. And that's what he was saying. He was like, you're going to put a lot of time
It's a
and
lot of
effort
time.
into putting
It is.
putting it together.
and it's a lot of stress. Like sometimes it's very stressful. So you earn every cent,
Yeah.
and when you sell yourself short, you kick yourself. I can tell you several times that I've been like, oh, like I just took it and said okay to the seller, and now I'm mad because
Right.
I feel like I'm cheated, but
Right.
I accepted it. Here we go again,
Those
right?
boundaries.
There's boundaries. So no, that is what it is, period. And when you stand on that and you convey that with confidence, most
Yeah.
people will take it. Now when you sound uncertain saying it and shaky, which I
Yeah.
had to learn,
Right.
they're gonna push.
Yeah. And he said that he was like, as the president, I think is his name Patrick or Keith? I can't remember what his name is.
I know who you had now.
The little blonde,
Of
short
course,
hair.
now I just because you said that and I see his face. This is
Yeah.
horrible.
But he,
Wow.
one of the things that he,
So that's who came to speak. Now I gotta look it up. This is so bad.
one of the things that he's,
Jim
there you go.
Jim Parker. Before I open,
Yeah, that's what I was like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been actually very good too. He's been a great president the last couple years, and yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm glad you got to meet him.
Yeah,
too.
he was pretty cool. But one of the things that he was saying, he was just like, as a new agent, you have to be confident
You do.
in what you're doing.
Oh my gosh.
You have to be assertive, because they will try to take advantage if you
Absolutely.
allow them to.
And they will.
And he was like, even as a new broker coming in, like a lot of other seasoned brokers, they may not even acknowledge you, or they might not return your calls or email because you haven't established yourself. But once you establish yourself and they see that you're in
That's
this,
great.
you'll-
Then they will get on board.
Right.
Like the guy in my class. We ended up doing a deal together years later, and it was great. He's great now.
Wow.
But this is what it started from.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't even move your seat. You know what I mean? So that's true. And that's why I think when I met you and realized, like, you actually followed up with me, I was like, oh, she really is serious. That persistence pays, because you're going to need that over here.
Yeah.
Like, there are some agents, I do a little bit in South Florida from time to time, and it's like a completely different world down there. And some of them will not return your calls, emails, nothing. I'm going to call you every day, very, very politely, until you give me what I'm asking for. Because again, per BBF bylaws, we're obligated to co-broke. Right. So go ahead and run me that. You know what I mean? So you have to have a little bit of that in a very nice,
professional way.
Yes. So you'll be fine.
I'm sure.
And I like, again, hearing some of your takeaways from the last 2 days, like, you already get it. You already get it.
Yeah.
The people that try to make it super difficult, or, and again, I think we talked about this at lunch that day, like, people don't know their place. And when you look at the world in as a whole, that applies on every level. Definitely. You need to know your place, you need to stay there.
Definitely.
If you can do that,
we all good.
Everything is good.
Yes. All right. Well, do you have any closing remarks or anything that you would like to leave our teasters with on this fine day?
I'll say this, that I know we talked about a lot today. I'll start by saying not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. And I think that in this climate, especially with social media, you almost begin to feel like you're less than if you're not. And
we do know that people be putting on the social media.
Yes, they do. But it's almost like, you're less than if you work a job. Like, no. Because again, if everyone is running something, who's working? So I want people to kind of get past that whole thing of everybody's got to be a boss or you not doing nothing. That's not true. That is not true. That's first. But second, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, you haven't launched yet, or you just feel like maybe it's not accessible for you, it is. It is doable, it's accessible, and please don't take the position that you can't. There's not any resources for us or things like that. It's not true.
Definitely. Especially in this era, there should be no reason why there's no excuse of I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe 30 years ago, before we had the World Wide Web and Google and all of these resources, then maybe they did. But it was something that I save a lot of Facebook posts in my phone because they're inspirational quotes because they stick out to me. And one of them that I saved, I don't want to go through my phone and try to look for it, but it said something of the nature of our ancestors. They didn't have the resources, but they made things happen. And we have resources, and we're not doing anything. So if they can rob Peter to pay Paul and still maintain and keep their families together, then there's no reason why we can't do that. Like you say, like, everybody's not to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay.
It's absolutely okay.
It's okay to go work at Winn-Dixie and be
but work that job with pride. But that's what we're missing.
Right. Like, do it with dignity. Right. Be happy about what you're doing. Missing. And if you're not happy, like, you go to McDonald's.
Right.
And these people just got bad customer service. If you don't want to be there,
don't be there.
Change your perspective. Change your mindset. I'll go back and a quick story of my own. Just, again, I pretty much raised myself. Thank God that my guardian angels and just having common sense led me into just learning how to figure things out. But when I was about 21, 22, I felt like my life was at a halt. Okay. I wasn't happy with what I had. I was working part-time at Save Right. I had my son. I think he was about 2 or 3 at the time. I had an apartment. I had a car. I had graduated from high school, but for me, I did not feel like that was enough. I was not happy with my situation, and I was moping, and I just wasn't happy, and the light went off, and it was like, Trell, is somebody in this world that would be happy to be in your position. Mm-hmm. No, you don't have the best job, but you have a job. Correct. You don't live in the fanciest house, but you have somewhere to stay. Right. You have running water. You have lights. You ain't worried about nothing. Your son is clean. He's taken care of. You know you're not driving around in a 2010. I mean, not a 2010, but a 2010. Mm-hmm. But you have a car that gets you from point A to point B.
That's real.
And like that for me was like, well, Trell, stop complaining. If you don't like what you have doing now, do something better.
That's right.
And I wanted to say, like, a few months later, I ended up getting fired from that job, which was another opportunity for me to go back to school. I had already pursued college because I wanted to be a radiology tech.
Okay.
but my GPA had fell below what it needed to be, so I put school on hold. And so at this point, it was like, okay, called the school. They was like, well, you can't get back in the RT program because your GPA not high enough, so you can either become a medical assistant or take some of my other programs. And me being me, I don't want to be no medical assistant. Who want to sit up there and do vitals all day and put patients in rooms? Well, went to MA school, and my mind expanded that medical assistant was a lot more than that. I've been in the medical field as a medical assistant for 8 years, and just probably this year, last year when I got with St. Vincent's was the first time I actually did like rooming patients and doing vitals.
Interesting.
But it expanded my mind. Actually, I wanted to go back to school to do sonography, and I said if I ever did go back to school, sonography would be the only thing that I would go back to school for. But with that being said, I went back to school to be a medical assistant, something that I didn't want to do, and it presented so many opportunities to me. Even just with getting my first job, you don't have the experience, so no one wants to hire you. The instructor, the lab instructor, sent out an email. She was like, hey, the health department is looking for, they're looking to hire. It's part-time. Hey, I ain't working. I ain't making nothing right now, so why not take this opportunity? I applied, and like everything just worked itself out. I had another job lined up that it just worked itself out. I ended up getting accepted at the health department. It was 10 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
2 days a week.
Wow.
8 months later, I was full-time career service.
Wow. That was for you.
Yeah. And so with that being said, if you don't like your situations, you have to own it. Stand in the mirror, have a conversation with yourself, and figure out how can you change it. No one can do it for you. They can inspire you. They can help you. They can motivate you. But as an individual, you have to be self-driven and motivated.
And that goes back to where we started this whole conversation, saying that like change is hard, but you've got to be willing to submit to that. And the other thing that I like listening to you talk that comes to mind is you also can't like cheat the process.
Definitely.
We all have got to start at ground zero. Definitely. And I feel like, again, just in this era of social media, everyone's living like the perfect life. The teeth perfect, the eyes perfect, the body perfect. Everything's perfect. And I'm balling. And I'm looking over here like, what am I doing?
Right.
So, but in the era of that, you know, you can't come in here with the attitude like, oh, I'm too good to start over there and do that. That's part of the other problem. Like, be trainable, be teachable. And sometimes you got to eat some stuff that you do not want to do. Full disclosure. There's been times where, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, I was driving Uber on the side. Like, you do what you got to do. Do I want to be driving an Uber? Absolutely not.
Hey.
But if I got a bill and I can't do it, you do what you have to do.
You do what you have to do.
So sometimes you just have to make those sacrifices for a little bit of time, thinking that it's only temporary and I'm coming in here leaving.
Right. And you appreciate the reward so much better. Just like when you were a kid, if your parents would go buy your first car and they bought you a BMW or Mercedes-Benz, you is going to dog that car out till you can't do nothing to it.
Because you don't have no appreciation.
Exactly. But had you would have got you a ride car, you would have learned how to change some oil, fix some tires. You would have got you a little job. You would have been saved up, get your credit right. So when you get that BMW, baby,
it's kept. It is kept. Yes. That is real.
Yes. So,
that is real.
With that being said, be humble, be self-motivated. Go get it. If you want it, go get it. But like we stated, you can lead the horse to the water.
That's right.
But you can't make them drink it.
No. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. So as we wrap this show up, we're going to get our message from the Lord, which is myself.
Okay. I see what you did there. I need the drums. All right.
So our message from the Lord is, self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts. If you don't control what you think, you can't control what you do.
That's deep.
Yes. All right, Teasters. We will catch you guys on the next one.